Welcome back, everyone. It's Mindy here with you today, and I am super excited to be showing you this brand new product from Tailored Expressions. These are the blender brushes. So I'm going to walk you through an unboxing video of the product, and then I have two projects I want to share with you putting these brushes in action. If you purchase the blender brushes and the storage caddy, you will get the free cleaning tool or a cleaning tool for free. So if you want to pause the video, run over to Tailored Expressions, pick these up. You can come on back and check out the video. I will have all of the links listed down below in the video description and on my blog as well. So here we're just going to take a look at everything. I hadn't touched them, hadn't opened them. I was waiting so I could get this captured in a video for you. So these are the boxes that the storage caddy and the blender brushes are going to come in. You can see it's a set of 10. And the first thing that caught my eye immediately was these gorgeous rainbow handled brushes. Check that out. It is so nice, and there's so many purposes for this. For one, they're just beautiful to look at. I mean, who doesn't love a rainbow sitting on their desk? Two, what's really nice is that you can color code for your ink blending. So your yellows, you have a yellow brush. Your purples, you have a purple brush. That is just great. Another thing is they are white bristles, so you'll be able to see your ink that you're using. Flexible handles, flexible top. You're also going to notice that they're all the same size. And this is actually one of my favorite sizes in using in blender brushes. So I think that's amazing. I'll be able to use every single one of the brushes. So lots of bonus points there already. And I haven't even touched them yet as far as using them. So the next thing here I'm showing you is the storage caddy, which is super cool. Great idea from Tailored Expression. It's a turntable, which I love that. I had a lot of fun just whipping around that rainbow of brushes. So I'm just going to put this together. It is really easy to do. There's just two little pieces you have to put into the slots, and then you can pop your top on. Just make sure your holes line up so that when you're putting your brush in from the top, it's going to line up with the hole that is in the bottom. So I'm just taking all of the brushes and placing them in rainbow order. And you also have a gray, and then it's like a brown. So you have bonus plus the rainbow. You have pinks and reds, brown, gray, tons of brushes here. And then it spins, and you can sit that right on your desk. Very handy when you're ready to ink blend. So this is the first card I created using the brushes. It was a very quick, very simple card. I just wanted to put them to a test. So this was the first time that I had used the brushes. I'm starting off with a piece of Sugar Cube cardstock. That is the white cardstock from Tailored Expressions. I also have here the Birds and Bloom stencil, which I had sprayed with Pixie Spray from Thermoweb. It's just a nice tacky type of adhesive that you can spray on the back, and that way my stencil is sticking to the cardstock without having to tape it down. I started off with Lemon Drop ink from Tailored Expressions. I came in with a Fruit Punch, and I'm just really quick laying down color. I'm not being real particular. I'm just really testing this out. So I did go kind of light-handed, and then I just pushed that head down a little bit, and it's going to give me more color. It picks up color very well. These brushes are great. I am really enjoying using them. They are, you can see they're fine white bristles. They're made from synthetic fibers, not natural hairs. And obviously you're going to see that it does taint the bristles. The colors taint the bristles. If you're switching in between colors, you can just wipe off on a scratch paper. After a while, if you notice that it's kind of hard to change between colors, you can always clean them and just put some light soap and water in the sink and let them air dry. So once I was happy with my blend here, which like I said, didn't take long. This was just a real quick blend to test out the brushes. I did come back in with those same colors over the top. I like to have a lot of color on mine. I'm not real big on white space on my cards. So I'm just going over this very lightly over top of those colors. And that was another test for me is, can I do a light application of color? So I'm just not pushing down as hard when I'm doing these, applying the color, just going right over the top. And you can see here there was a pink handle. I now have the red handle, so I'm going to use that for my darker colors of ink like the mulled wine. And just brushing over all of those edges. So this was a great piece to start with to test out the brushes. I love them. I think they're amazing. They worked really, really well. And to finish off my card, I'm going to add a sentiment. I'm using the Simple Sentiments strips, which is a fantastic idea from Tailored Expressions. This has a ton of sentiments on here, and we're going to be able to die cut them all in just one shot. So I lined up a piece of the Oreo cardstock, which is the black cardstock from Tailored Expressions. Put that in my MISTI, and you could see I did remove my foam mat from the MISTI because Tailored Expressions stamps are red rubber, so they already have foam to them. I prepped the cardstock with an anti-static powder tool, and then I just inked up the stamp with a clear embossing ink, and just giving that a good push down to stamp that onto the cardstock. I will sprinkle on the white embossing powder from Tailored Expressions. It definitely is one of my favorites that I like to grab because it is a beautiful white. It is a really nice crisp white. So I'll just sprinkle that all over, shake off the excess, and then I can come in and heat that up with my heat tool. Now you're going to notice that there are those squares off on the side, and you want to make sure to stamp and heat emboss those too, because we need that for our die cutting purposes. So once I have that all nice and melted, I like to take a Swiffer cloth and just dust over the top of that to kind of take off any of the excess powder that was on there from my anti-static powder tool. And then I'm going to bring in the matching die for this. What I will do is I'm going to line up those squares. You can see the die has those squares on there. That is so you can line this up straight. And we're going to be able to die cut all of these sentiments in one shot. This is really quick to do. You could do these in a variety of colors and just have on hand. So if you're making a card, you can just quick grab one of these sentiments. And there are a lot of different holiday, not so much holiday, but a lot of different occasions as far as the sentiments. So I just hold that in place with some purple tape. Once I have those that die lined up, and then I'm going to run this through my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine. And then once I pop that out, you can see I have all of these amazing sentiment strips ready to go. So I'm just going to choose one for the front of my card. I am picking Sending You a Big Hug. I think that is just a great general sentiment to add to my card. I can use it for anything. I can give it to a friend, my daughter, relatives, anything. So I'll just take that sentiment, line the back of it with some foam tape. I did trim my ink blended panel down to 4 by 5 1/4 and added it to a piece of sugar cube cardstock. And then just popping that sentiment in there. So this card was really quick and easy to do. The ink blending was great. I think the blender brushes are amazing, and I was able to achieve everything that I wanted to achieve with them. So I will give you one final look, some close-up shots of the card that we had just created, and then I'll move on to another card which I am just totally head over heels for. So for my next card, I'm going to be using the Be a Mermaid stamp set, and I'm also going to be using the stencil Go With The Flow. I'm going to step up the blending game a little bit just to test out the size of these brushes and what I can achieve with it. So this is the Go With The Flow stencil. I did already go ahead and spray that with the pixie spray so that I can just place this on top of my sugar cube cardstock. And I always start with 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That way if I need to trim the panel down, I can. And I'm just giving that a good push down, making sure that's nice and stuck to the cardstock. And I'm actually going to start out with Saltwater Taffy ink. This is a really light blue, and I'm going to go over the entire area of this. So I did speed this up a little bit, but I did go over the entire area, and I apologize it's a little hard to see. My light was glaring a little bit, but the colors will show through here shortly. And with the pixie spray, you can see that my stencil with these fine lines, my pixie spray is holding all of that in place. The bristles are moving great over all of those fine lines. And I like to hold my brushes towards the head. That way, if I need to give it a little bit more pressure, I can just give it a little bit harder of a push down on them. Once I have that saltwater taffy ink laid down, I'm going to come in next with Cookie Monster, which is a really fun color. For one, they're just fun names, and two, it's a beautiful blue and perfect for this background. So I'm just going to do right where those lines intersect and start another section, and I'm only going to go part way up. I'm going to leave some of that saltwater taffy blue showing, so I'm just kind of going in the bottom corner there. And that is what I wanted to test out, is how well these brush sizes fit in those areas, because I was being pretty specific, and they did really well. I'm sorry about that. Lost my voice for just a second. Once I finished up that area with the Cookie Monster ink, I'm going to come in with the Jelly Donut, and this color combination is amazing. I'm really happy with how all of this came out. So I went ahead and I took the purple handled brush and added on some Jelly Donut. I am kind of rubbing off on a scratch piece of paper there because I wasn't sure how bright and bold these colors were going to be at first, especially with the brushes being brand new. They're not seasoned in or anything. So I am wiping off a little bit of the excess ink over on the side, and I'm taking the Jelly Donut and I'm going even further in that corner of where those lines intersect. So I'm going over that Cookie Monster, but not all the way up. So that way I have 3 layers of colors showing. So once I have that done, I am going to come back in with the Cookie Monster a little bit. Once again, kind of wiping off. I didn't want to completely cover up the Jelly Donut. So just lightly brushing over those areas. And then once I'm happy with this ink blending, I'm not going to remove the stencil just yet. I'm going to just kind of wipe up my surface from any ink that I had gotten onto the surface of my mat, and I'm going to be using the Moonstone Glimmer Paste. I'm going to add some shine to this. So I'm just scooping out some of that glimmer paste, and I'm going to spread this over my stencil all through the lines. I'm trying to actually go with the flow of the stencil so I'm not going to catch anything. I know it's stuck pretty good, but I still don't want to take my chances. So I'm just scooping up some of that moonstone, spreading it across the entire stenciled area. Just kind of working my way down, going over all of that ink. Now the awesome thing about moonstone is it's not going to hide our ink. It's just adding sparkle. So then after I scraped off that excess, I'm going to carefully remove the stencil. So I'm just starting off in the top corner, holding the paper with one hand and pulling with the other. And check that out. This is so gorgeous. I'm just totally in love with this. So I'm going to put that off on the side to dry. And I actually let that dry overnight. And you can see how beautiful that looks with all of its sparkle. So next, I'm going to work on an extra piece for the front of my card. This is using the die set from Be a Mermaid. So I'm going to have 2 pieces here. That's going to be the mermaid tail. I'm starting out by die cutting them both from just white cardstock. I'm going to add some ink blending to this. Instead of just using regular cardstock, you can totally do that. But I'm playing with the brushes, seeing what I could all do with it. So I'll just run those through my die cutting machine, which this one here is the Spellbinders Platinum machine. I've been digging that out lately because I am very limited on desk space, and the Spellbinders one I can take on and off my table and it folds up so I can tuck it away on my shelf. Now what I really like to do after I've die cut pieces, especially if I'm going to be doing some ink blending on them, is I flip my paper over and line them back in there kind of backwards. So this is the back of the die and the back of that paper we die cut it from. And then I'm going to hold that in place with the purple tape. I want to do some ink blending on them, and I just find that this is really easy to do. That's going to hold it in place, and that way I know exactly where those mermaid tails are, so I can ink blend them specifically. So I'm using the same colors that I did on the background. This is the Cookie Monster. This bottom layer, I'm just going to go over the entire thing. So just lightly ink blending that up. I'm not going to do any two-tone ink blending on that one, but this one that has the detail in it, I did add the Cookie Monster. I kind of pushed a little harder to get a little bit of a darker color to it. And then I'm going to come in with the Jelly Donut, and I'm just going to add that to one side of the mermaid tail. And this, like I said, is such a great combination, especially for these kind of magical backgrounds with the mermaids and the beautiful go with the flow stencil. So once I have that ink blended, I just remove the purple tape from the back, let those pop out, and then I'll just take a poking tool, can't remember the exact word for it, and just pop out all of those extra bits and the little pieces on the tail. And then I can take some liquid glue. You could also use a tape runner if you wanted. And I'm just attaching that detail layer to the solid layer on the bottom there. Then once I have that glued together, I am going to work on a sentiment quickly. And this is just an easy one to create. I'm going to use my Misty tool for it. So I'm using a sentiment that's off of the Be a Mermaid stamp set. If you haven't checked that set out, you definitely have to. It is super cute. Lots of great designs on there for that mermaid tail. This one I am using Cookie Monster cardstock, which matches my ink blending that I had done. I'm just going to stamp my sentiment on there with Oreo ink. And then I trimmed that down into just a thin strip. My ink blended panel, once it had been dry, I trimmed off the edges a little bit. So it's going to be 4 inches by 5.5. So I just have, I think that was my measurements. So I just have a white border on the edges is what I was going for. And then I lined the back of that with some foam tape just for a little dimension and stability. I'm taking the sentiment and I just added some double-sided tape to it. Double-sided tape just has a really nice good stick. So it was going to hold up really well against that textured background. And then I will add some foam tape to the back of the mermaid tail. And I'll add that right next to the sentiment. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these blender brushes and the cards that I created. I know they're kind of two opposite sides of the spectrum for colors, but I really wanted to test out the dark colors and the cool colors and all of that. And my review of these is they're great. I think they're amazing. They're very eye-catching, eye-appealing. The tool caddy is great to have on your desk and it spins, so it's very handy. So like I said, be sure to check out the links down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. I will have more projects using the blender brushes coming very soon to you over on my blog. And if, like I said, I will have the special here too, where if you buy the blender brushes and the storage caddy, you will get a free gift with that purchase. Thank you so much for stopping by today, and I'll see you next time.